Well, why Trump dominates the headlines right now, and so does Joe Biden, honestly, which is obviously the media's intent, the ever-increasing crime problem in Biden's America continues to rage on. This is a product of the recent NYC chokehold resulting in Jordan Neely's death, which has led to the indictment of ex-Marine Daniel Penny. Joining me now to discuss, St. Louis attorney Mark McCloskey, who was actually charged for defending his home when a crowd of Black Lives Matter protesters trespassed onto his property, much like Daniel Penny is being charged for defending his fellow subway riders. Sir, I appreciate you being here. Having gone through this whole process, seeing the entire weight of the state come down on you for something that you believe, or, everyone should have the right for self-defense, how does this make you feel?
Well, it's an organized program all over the country with all these Soros-funded prosecutors to increase crime and then criminalize self-defense. They want the population to be frightened. They want the population to ask the government for solutions. But it's even more nefarious than that. I think they're actually fanning the flames of crime in the hopes that brave people like Daniel Penny will stand up and do what good, honest, God-fearing citizens would do, to make an example out of them, to frighten everybody else into saying, don't you dare defend yourselves, because you have to. What did the prosecutors say in the Cal Rittenhouse case? You ought to take a beating. Yeah. I mean, that's what they want us to do. They want us to lay down and just accept their level of crime and accept their level of anarchy. Yeah, but that's the problem, is eventually, sir, people wise up to that. But from a legal standpoint, I mean, being an attorney yourself, being through this stuff, when you have this level of, let's just call it indiscretion from prosecutors, Daniel Penny comes out and he defends himself based on all the allegations. And this is what he said.
The three main threats that he repeated over and over was, I'm going to kill you, I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die. This was a scary situation, and Mr. Neely came on. He was threatening. I'm 6'2", and he was taller than me. I was scared for myself, but I looked around. I saw women and children. He was yelling in their faces, saying these threats. I couldn't just sit still.
I mean, in a rational court of law, this is open shut, no?
Well, I looked up the New York jury instruction on manslaughter in the second degree, and if you act under circumstances where a reasonable person would have done the same thing, it's a defense. It's not a crime. And when a guy gets on the subway and he says, I want to kill you, I don't care if I spend the rest of my life in jail, I'm ready to die today. And by the way, this guy had 42 prior arrests, 4 for assault. He had an outstanding warrant for assault on him right then at the time that Daniel Penny took care of the situation, for striking a 67-year-old woman just at random as she was getting off the train. So this is a dangerous guy. His uncle says, well, he's on K2, so it's okay. K2 is a synthetic form of marijuana, right? And then his uncle says, I don't know what else he's on, but we haven't seen the toxicology report. But yeah, there is a video of after Daniel Penny lets off the chokehold, and he's still moving around. I mean, Jordan Neely's still breathing. He's still moving around. They put him in a rescue posture and wait for the cops to show up and wait for the EMS to show up. But we haven't seen the autopsy, and yet everybody from AOC down to the Reverend Al Sharpton is already calling him a murderer.
Yeah. Well, and Daniel Penny, I mean, the argument there is that he didn't know that he had this much criminal record, but he was still doing the threats that he was doing. Daniel Penny actually talked about that, because that's one of the big prosecutions against him, is he held this for 15 minutes and he knew he was dead. And to your point, this is what Daniel Penny had to say.
People say that I was holding on to Mr. Neely for 15 minutes. This is not true. I mean, between stops is only a couple minutes. So the whole interaction lasted less than 5 minutes. Some people say I was trying to choke him to death, which is also not true. I was trying to restrain him.
I mean, again, open and shut in my mind.
Yeah, well, they create the narrative, right? And I saw it in 100 different articles today that Daniel Penny choked him for 15 minutes. It's just like the January 6ers, where the media is still talking about, policemen getting their brains bashed out with fire extinguishers. They make up the lie narrative, they stick to it, and they hope that the vast majority of the public doesn't do any independent research, just accepts what that narrative is. Just like in my case, where I pulled guns on peaceful social justice protesters walking peacefully past my house. I mean, they make up the narrative, and then the public, that's all they get to hear.
And then they take the power of the state and they put you up against it and hope that they can bankrupt you, so you plead out. Mark McCloskey, thank you for standing up for not only your rights, but everyone else's.
Thank you very much.
All right, coming up.